We live?
Yeah, we live right now, brother. Hold on.
All right.
Go ahead and do some things real quick. What's going on, family? How's everybody doing, man? Bro, my brother. This is how the 12-step fellowship is designed, right? And how it works, right? I want to share it with y'all. This brother is in Cali, man. Zooming everywhere, right? And this is how we build relationships and get to know people from different countries, different states. This is what it's about, guys. It's about connection and building relationships with other people we don't know, getting outside ourselves, right? And sharing some pain with them, sharing some experience with them, right? And now I want to introduce y'all my brother Daniel, right, from California. I heard him share, man, and I'm just bringing him live with y'all so we can share him with y'all so he can give y'all some hope. If anybody is struggling, what I want y'all to do right now, drop your clean dates, drop your locations, and I'm gonna pray them in, and I'm gonna let God take us out our ego, man, and God take over. That's what I believe fully. And pride and ego, man, always had me dragging. But here we go, man. I'm gonna pray you in, brother. I'm gonna hit the inspirational flow, and then we're gonna go.
Alrighty.
Almighty God, just coming to you today with an open mind, Lord God, and I want you to work through my brother Daniel tonight. If he struggles in any lack of confidence, low self-esteem, or low self-worth, that you just remove that off of him and let a God of his understanding come into the picture and get him outside himself to carry a message of recovery. And just touch that one hopeless person that's struggling with this coronavirus, the situation and the feelings, and that his story just touches someone's heart tonight. And just be with us and be with the people. And that's, Lord God, thank you. Amen. All right, here we go. Inspirational free style recovery flow. Go ahead, Daniel, man. Look, man, this is how good it is, right? I'm going to share something before he goes. You know, building relationships all over the world, man, is unity, right? So if nobody ever told you we love y'all, man. And I'm here to share my brother with y'all. Floor's yours, brother. Go ahead.
All right, Carl. Thank you very much, man, for asking me to come on this platform and share. All this stuff is new to me. It kind of freaks me out. I look at myself on the camera and I'm saying, dang, man, I put on like 40 pounds.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, when anybody asks me to come share my experience, strength, and hope, my story, I never say no. I was taught to never say no, you know. So I'm grateful for you, man. I love you, brother. I'm glad I met you through the Zoom meeting platform, right? Like you said, us in this recovery deal, like we're all one, right? We're all one. We all have that same desperation that got us here. And hopefully we all have some kind of God that keeps us here.
Come on,
you know
baby.
what I mean? I could share with you my story. My story might not be similar to other people's stories, but somebody in this room might relate, you know? And so I was taught that early on to continue to share because there might be that one person who relates to what you have going on. You know, I was never, you know, I'll start from way back. I don't know how much time I got. You said about 30 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead, 30, 40.
So I'll tell you this much, man. I was a substance abuse person. I used substances for 36 years. So to share my story in 30 minutes, it'll be close.
Yeah. Now you're good.
Right? Because there was 30 years of, there was 36 years of substance abuse in there, right? But before the substance abuse ever happened, before I ever put anything in my body, right, I had a problem with myself. Right. And just like I said, looking at my picture on here, I don't even feel comfortable looking at myself on this camera. Right. And from a young age, man, I never felt comfortable in my own skin from as early as I can remember. Right. Before I ever put any kind of substance in my body, I never felt comfortable in my own skin. And today I still struggle with that at times. Right. I still feel like I'm not enough. I still feel less than. I still have low self-esteem. I still say, why the hell even get up? Why even leave the house, you know, with this quarantine going on? You know, I live in a nice big house all by myself, man. All I got is this little crazy chihuahua. He'll be running around here behind me, man. And you know, I'm losing my mind on most days, but I'm okay, right? Like the thought of putting something in my body isn't coming to me, right? So I'll go back to the beginning as a young kid, man. Like I said, I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I always wanted to be somebody else, right? I always wanted to be something else, someone else, some other nationality, some other race, some other person, anything but who I was, right? I wasn't the best looking kid. I was shy. You know, most of the time my parents didn't have a whole lot of money, but they made do with what they had, right? I would break my glasses on a regular basis, and my dad would duct tape them back together and send me off to school, you know, and people would pick on me, you know. And so I never felt comfortable, you know. What I could share with you is I come from a family who loved me till the day they died. I had a mother and father who were in my life the whole time until the day they passed. I have brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, all that stuff. There's no addiction or history of alcoholism in my family at all. So somewhere along the line, I made a choice to take a turn, right? And I can tell you the exact day you know, for some of you guys who might be from the East Coast, I can tell you the exact day that my life took a turn. And I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and there was a movie that came out called West Side Story, right? And it was about the Puerto Rican gang and the white gang, and it was a musical of you would think a little kid, what the heck would I even want to be involved in a musical, right? I watched that movie, and that day I said, I want to be one of those Puerto Rican gang members, right? Not the white guys. You think, look at me, man, I'm white as can be. I wanted to be a Puerto Rican, right? And at that time, I didn't know they were Puerto Rican. I just thought they were Mexican guys, and I said, I want to be, those guys are cool, you know, and I want to marry some girl named Maria, right? And from that day forward, right, I could tell you I started changing the way I felt by going to school, picking on other kids, right? Stealing, you know, that was my first drug of choice, stealing, right? One was too many and 1,000 was never enough. I started stealing pencils, school erasers, rulers, anything they would let me get my hands on, I would try to steal it just for the rush, you know. That carried on for years. You know, I enrolled a couple other people in my so-called gang. We used to write WSS on everything that we stole, you know, West Side Story. And we would punk the kids in the neighborhood, and it would give me consequences when I came home, right? Because usually by the time I got home from school, my parents were already aware of what my behavior was, you know. So that went on for years, man, until I got into high school. You know, 11 years old, I can remember. Like I said, I never felt comfortable in my own skin, man, and so that first time I drank some alcohol. You know, because I was shy, I was quiet, I didn't talk much, you know, and alcohol kind of let the demon loose, you know, and we drank till we puked, you know, so that was my first experience with that. Like there was never enough. I couldn't have like one drink, you know. Our parents were drinkers, and they had their social gatherings in the neighborhood where I lived. The parents usually all got together at this one family's house, and there was this upstairs that the father had built into a bar. And and was all these glass windows, and they could watch us kids play on the street down below. And we would steal their alcohol and go hang out in these little clubs that we had built, these forts, these tree houses and stuff like that. And we would drink, and we would mix stuff like cream de mint with vodka, with gin. And I'll put it all in a jar and then drink until we all threw up, you know. And it never ended. You know what I mean? It never ended. It was always like that. There was never any kind of social drinking, drugging, any of that stuff for me. You know, then I found marijuana, right? And every time I started something new, this was my drug, right? I was, oh, this is my stuff, man. This is it, you know. And I started smoking pot, and that's where the trouble really started for me, you know, because you had that money to buy that stuff, right? And so, you know, we had no way to get money back then. So our way to get money was burglarizing houses, you know. And what we would do is we would break into our own neighborhood houses where people that we knew, most of them, right, while they were on vacation, because we knew they were on vacation, and we would steal all their alcohol and any kind of cash. You know, we would never steal stuff like guns or TV sets or any of that stuff. We didn't want to have to go through the hassle of trying to sell it. We would just take all their booze out of their bar, and we would take their cash if they had any cash laying around the house, and we would buy weed and we would party, you know, and that went on for many years, you know. And like I said, the consequences from that first day I smoked pot, man, I started skipping school, right? My father was brought up in the military. You know, his father died when he was young. So my father, you know, all he knew was what he knew on how to bring us up. And so he was like a drill sergeant in your face, you know, and I was constantly in trouble, constantly. The only thing he ever wanted us to do was go to school. And I couldn't even do that, right? Because I was too busy getting high. You know, smoking was more important, drinking and partying and kegger parties and the beach life, going to the beach and having a kegger party. You know, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where I lived. The beach was a freaking, you could walk to the beach. We could ride our bicycles to the beach, you know. So we had kegger parties on the beach. You know, all that stuff came with consequences. Every time I came home, I was in deep trouble. You know, I was grounded to my room quite often, right? I was grounded to my room quite often, and that became very comfortable for me. And I share that because later in my life, later in this story, I'll tell you how that became very comfortable for me later in life. You know, I became very comfortable in isolation, like being by myself, with myself. I was okay because like then I didn't have to try to pretend to be somebody else. I could be me with me and be just fine. I love music. I go to a lot of concerts. I still do that. Well, not anymore because of what's going on with this virus, but I'm a huge fan of music. Music is pretty much in my darkest times carried me through, right? And saved my life, whether it be rap music, whether it be country music, whether it be gospel music, whether it be Christian music, whether it be rock and roll, whatever it was. At certain times in my life, that music carried me through, you know. A lot of my friends here in this area call me Daniel Music, right? Because I'm always doing something that has something to do with music, you know. That was the one thing as a kid that I wanted to be, was a rock star. My dad was having no no plans with me doing that, right? So, you know, I went through high school. I got high, man. That was pretty much the story. Never went to class, cut classes, never went to school, got major consequences from my father, spent most of my life grounded, most of my summers in my bedroom or sent off to a family member like an aunt or an uncle to live with them for the summer. At some point, my dad had enough of me smoking pot and the burglaries of the houses and stuff like that. And, you know, my brother and sister were quite a bit older than me, so they had moved on and moved out of the house. And my father made a decision that we're going to move, right? We're going to get you because you're getting in all kinds of trouble, and we need to get you out of this area. You know, his statement was, I'm going to get you away from all of these potheads, right? And I was living, like I said, in the San Francisco Bay Area. So anybody who knows California and knows this area, my dad made the decision to move me to Mendocino County, where they grow pot. Right. He didn't know that, but I knew that. Right. And I can remember, like I said, man, anywhere I went, there I was. I was there. I knew exactly who my people were. Right. I can remember the first day of walking into school and looking around and saying, all right, there's the jocks, there's the brains, and there's the cloud of smoke in the parking lot. Those are my people. Right. And no sooner was I there one day in school, I was with that same exact crowd of people, just in a different town. And now, instead of it being imported into San Francisco, they were growing it in their backyard. And that flipped my father out, you know. And that first day coming home back from school with my eyes all red and the munchies did not make him happy. You know, he dragged me out of bed one night in the middle of the night. And I'll never forget this because it stuck with me. You know, there's some events that happened in my life that completely changed the path of my life. And I know today that it's only by the grace of God and the 12-step fellowship that I'm even alive or able to come and share this message with you today, right? And I'll share a little bit of that when I get further along. But that first West Side Story movie was one of those events that changed my life. It made me want to be somebody different, right? And then, you know, my father dragging me out of bed in the middle of the night. Back in the 70s when the first Scared Straight came on, right? The program with the guy with the patch on and said he was going to sell somebody else to another guy for a pack of cigarettes. And my dad dragged me out of bed and said, listen, man, you need to sit down and watch this, because if you don't change what you're doing, that's where you're going. And I was thinking, man, that's a prison. I'm not going to prison. Mom will get me out. Like, I'm never going to go to prison. I know what I'm doing, right? That's what I thought, you know. And like I said, I went through high school, got quite a bit of trouble. Eventually, my father had enough, kicked me out of the house at about 17 years old, my senior or junior year of high school. I went back to the San Francisco Bay Area. I got into the union, working as a plumber, you know. But the one thing I always had was a disease of addiction in me, right? So I could come up and make money real quick, but on those days that I wasn't working, or if I was laid off, that disease took over, and I would crash and burn real quick, you know. At 21 years old, you know, I believe in getting open. You know, some people like to call it butt naked, sharing your truth, sharing what, you know, what's going on with you, sharing the deep down secrets. I don't share all my stuff. I have a sponsor that I share that stuff with, but there's one thing that completely changed the course of my life, and that was at 21 years old. I came to this town that I now live in, Modesto, California, Riverbank, right, to buy a vehicle. I was drinking and driving. I was hit by a drunk driver who happened to be my cousin. He was with me, drinking and driving. I came here and bought this vehicle. I got 1.6 miles from the car lot and got in a head-on collision and killed somebody, right? And that completely fucking ruined my life. Excuse my language. That completely destroyed my life, man. Right? Because I couldn't come back from that for so many years, right? That was also the thing that sent me to prison for my first time, you know. It's still hard to even talk about it today, right? It was not my plan. I didn't set out to go out and kill somebody's kid, right? It was an accident, right? And like I said, we were both drinking. I wasn't quite as much drinking as he was drinking, but either one way or the other, we were both at fault, man. We were on the road. We had alcohol in our system, and we shouldn't have been driving. I shouldn't have made it out of that alive. I can tell you this. I was wearing a pair of shorts and sandals. It was about 95 degrees that day. When I hit that, I was hit by my cousin, and he hit the rear end of my truck and sent me over to double line. And I hit another truck headlight to headlight at 55 miles an hour. I went through the windshield of my truck. I bit the steering wheel in half. I took the review mirror in my head. I ended up out on the hood of my truck with my head back over the roof, and they had the jaws of life me out like that. I had knocked out all my teeth. I lost the sight in my right eye. They said a couple more miles an hour, and that accident would have cut me in half, right? And when I came to, I remember my mouth being wired shut and my eye all closed up, and a highway patrol standing in the corner. And he asked me if I could stand, and I told him, mumbled yes. And when I stood, they handcuffed me, right? And they took me to jail for vehicular manslaughter. So from that point on, man, my life went completely down the tubes, man. I got married. I had kids. Like I said, I was in the union. I was a plumber. I went to prison. I got 4 years for that. I served my time. I came out. I went straight back into the plumbing. I worked for this Christian family who owned a plumbing company, and they would always take me back to work because they believed in people recover, right? People change. And so the minute I would get out of jail or prison, I would hitchhike, or if they had to, or find a way to get to work the first day, and they would hook me up with a company truck, and they would send me out to a job site, and I would run a job site, and I'd do well, and I'd come back up, and like I said, I got married in between there. I would always get things back, right? Get stuff back, and then be laid off, and then that disease would take over, and I would self-destruct, and usually catch a whole nother case and get myself caught up, and usually another prison term, or at least a violation for 1 or 2 years, and that series of events continued from the age of 21 till about 36. All right, in between there, I had 2 kids with my wife. I can tell you this: don't marry your coke dealer. I married my coke dealer in the '80s. Me and her, because I wanted it in house. You know what I mean? And then what I did is turned her into a tweaker. I started smoking crank with her. Well, I started doing crank with her, and then I started, and so I turned her into what I wanted her to be. And when those two come downs would come down together, it was a complete disaster, and we had two children in the middle of this mix of two addicts who were just completely out of control and who had no business being together. And what had happened was, I stayed way past the expiration date on that relationship, to the point where it just got crazy. We were plotting to kill each other. That was the end of that relationship. One of us was wishing the other one was dead, and we were going to figure a way for that to happen,
Wow.
And so when I finally got a little bit of clarity that I need to, I remember getting in this huge fight and shit being broken, and she came after me with a pick from the backyard, and I said, and looking at the face of my children, thinking, this is freaking crazy. I need to get out of this, This is toxic, man. And making that decision to leave. And my children, for me, man, were my everything, right? But I was spent in and out. They were still young at that time when I made the decision to leave my marriage, man. And when I left that marriage, I had nothing holding me. You know what I mean? I had no strings holding me. And that's when that disease of addiction took hold, because I no longer had a desire to work, because I figured I had no family to take care of anyway, right? Those last 10 years of getting high, I became, my whole family had enough of me. In those 10 years, I became homeless. I was on the streets. I didn't consider myself, everybody has their picture of what an addict is. I didn't think I was an addict, right? Because I didn't do it like this, or I didn't do it like that yet, right? I did later on, but yet, right? Oh, I'm just snorting a little bit here. I'm just smoking a little bit here. I'm just having a cocktail once in a while. Yeah. Like, I'm only doing it on the weekends, right? That's what I used to think. I'm only doing it on the weekends. Well, somewhere in that whole path of shit, the weekends became the weekdays, and I was just doing it every single day, day, night. Sometimes I'd be on a run 10, 15 days wide awake. Crazy as all outdoors, right? Terrorizing the neighborhood, stealing lawnmowers, stealing weed whackers, stealing your car, stealing whatever I could steal, stealing my own mother's stuff, right? I would go, my mother's house was my house of rest, right? And like I said, I never considered myself homeless because I always had my mother's house to go to, right? But in the fact of the matter was, there was nothing in my name ever. I never had a home to call home. I was homeless, right? Whether I wanted to believe it or not. And so what happened is, that last 10 years beat me up. I didn't get, I didn't go back to prison any of those times. I went back to the county jail quite a bit. My sister, who's one of my biggest supporters in my recovery today, was the one who put the brakes on me going to my mother's house. Because, I'd go to my mother's house and her house would get raided because I was there. Because when probation would see me, or parole office would see me pull up there, that, they would come raid the house and usually take me into custody because I was usually wanted for one thing or another, or for not reporting, So what happened is my sister set boundaries with me and said, listen, you're no longer allowed to come to mom's house. And if you do, I told the neighbors to call the cops on you anytime they see your vehicle. I had a mother who enabled me to the point of almost death. I would go to my mother's house. She would give me money, right? She would ask me, is this going to help you be okay? She paid my car insurance. She paid my phone bill, right? She bailed my trucks out of impound, right? Because she said, you got to have a truck to work. How are you going to work if you don't have your truck? I was an inventive tweaker. If anybody knows what a tweaker is, that's a meth head who stays up for weeks at a time, right? I had magnetic plumbing signs on the side of my truck. And so I thought if I had those signs on there, they wouldn't pull me over because I was 24-hour on call, right? And I remember one of the last times I got pulled over by the police department, he said, hey, Mr. Ford, I've seen your truck go by 15 times tonight. There ain't no plumber in this town that has that much business. And it was pouring rain, and I'm wearing a pair of shorts and some flip-flops and a tank top, and I'm sweating profusely. And he said, where's the dope? And I at the end of my road, I would just give myself up. I didn't even have the game to hide this stuff anymore. I was just so beat that I gave it up. I can tell you what got me to recovery was, I wanted to be a drug dealer. Yeah. That's how, and the only one calling my phone was me, right? Because anybody else that called, I would tell them I didn't have enough. Wait, I'm gonna go get some more. I'll let you know when I get some more. But right now, I don't have enough, right? And so I got pulled over numerous times with dope on me that I was supposed to be selling that I was just using, And so I got pulled over three times in 1 month for felony possession. And the second time, I remember my attorney saying, like, I don't know what we're going to do to help you, man. And the judge OR'd me. And I was thinking, holy crap, they let me back out again. Right. And then I got busted within a week again for felony possession. And I went back into the court system and to the jail. And I was going back to court. And I remember seeing that same attorney. And he's like, dude, like, this is the third time in 1 month, man. There's nothing I can do to help you. My advice to you is take whatever deal they're offering, right? You're a career criminal. You're in and out of prison most of your life. Like, there's really not much I can do to help you. And this is where God came into my picture, right? Because 99.9% of the time, I'd have just took the deal, or I'd have fought it and made them spend all kinds of money on me, right? Something in my head, which I know today, was that God shot for me. That first God shot told me I need to say something for myself, right? And I remember telling that attorney, you know what? I need to speak up in court. And he said, I don't advise you to do anything. I don't advise you to do anything besides take whatever they're going to offer. Otherwise, you might end up back in prison. And I said, I'm going to speak up for myself. And I remember walking into that courtroom, and as soon as they called my name, I said, Your Honor, I'd like to say something. And she said, you have an attorney for that. And I said, I need to say something, right, before the court. And she said, you know what? Go ahead, Mr. Ford. And I told her, I said, listen, man, I got a problem. And this was the first time I admitted that I had a problem. I said, I got a problem, and I don't know how to stop. And if you want to send me back to jail or you want to send me back to prison, I'm okay with that because I'm used to that. I've done that for years. And all I'm going to do is learn how to do more, right? And she said, you know what, Mr. Ford, this is the first time you've ever come into my courtroom and asked for help. And she said, this is what I'm going to do for you. We're going to let you out today, and you got 30 days to go to treatment. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. You let me out 2 other times, and I didn't even make it out of the parking lot, right? And sure enough, they let me out that day. But that thing of me standing up in court had planted that seed, man. That God had planted a seed in me that I wanted to do something different on that day. Because, I'd like to say I went right back into treatment the next day. No, I called Chewy, and we got spun out for 29 days. They called my phone. I paid to go to treatment. They called my phone, and they would say, your bed's available. Are you going to be? And I tell them I'm out of town on business. I'll be back next week, right? And they finally called me on the 29th day and said, listen, man, you either show up today or we got to give up this bed. And I told them I'm on my way. And she said, be here by 1 o'clock. And I said, okay, I'll do my best to be there at 1 o'clock. I got about 2:30, they called my phone. I was in their parking lot, right? But I had to, have one more issue. And I couldn't stop getting loaded, man. And this lady, man, I'll never forget this, right? I usually wear shirts. There's some shirts out there that say Hug Life, right? Because the hug forever changed my life, right? And that was another one of those God shots. Because this lady that worked in the treatment center, she called my phone and I said, listen, man, I'm in your parking lot and I can't stop getting loaded. And I don't know what to do. I really want to go in there, but I can't stop getting high. And she asked me what I was driving, and I told her what I was driving. And she came out to the parking lot and opened up my door and pulled me out of the truck, and there's blood running down my arm. And I'm, I'm on one, and I'm smelling, and I probably ain't showered in a couple of days, a good week probably. I'm not looking too good. And she hugged me, man. And she gave me one of those hugs like we get in the fellowship, one of those hugs that go like right through you. One of those hugs where you feel like, fuck, everything's going to be all right, right? One of those hugs that make you cry, right? One of those hugs that change your life, right? And this is what she told me when she hugged me. She said, listen, it's going to be all right, man. Come on inside. And I started crying, right? And she said, you know why you're crying? And I said, no, I can't. I didn't even cry at my own father's funeral. She said, you know why you're crying today? And I said, why? She said, you're about to break up with the longest relationship of your life. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, that bag of dope's been your solid relationship your whole life. That's the only thing you know. It's become more important than your family, than a funeral, than a wedding, than a kid's birthday party, than anything. That bag of dope, you know. And she was right. You know, so I went into that treatment center. It was a 28-day program. I slept for 7 days. The first 7 days I was in there, when I got some clarity, when I came to, there was H&I had come in, and there was NA speakers that came in, and this guy shared a message of hope. I really don't remember what it was, but I remember everything that he said I could totally relate to. I was like, this fucking guy's telling my story, man. Like, I can't, like, he's been where I've been. Like, I couldn't believe there was people like me who got clean, right? I never ever thought, anybody who knows me from back out on the streets never ever thought me would get clean, right? Never. They figured they'd read about me in the front page of the paper or in the obituary section, right? Because that's where my life is headed. And so when I heard that message, man, you know, it was just another one of those hope shots, man. It was like a light bulb comes on. You get that clarity. You say, hey, shit, this might work for me, you know? I might be able to do this, you know? And then they made suggestions. Get yourself a sponsor. Go to meetings. Try to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Try to, you know, try to get yourself connected. Reach out to people. Get a phone list and do all this stuff, you know? And I took that to heart, you know? I said, listen, man, I started thinking to myself, like, if I really want to change, I really got to do whatever these people are telling me to do, right? Because what I've been doing ain't working.
Come on,
you know?
man.
And
come on.
Yeah, and so what happened is I got this sponsor who was like my father. He was a retired Vietnam vet. He was in your face, spit flying, telling you the truth, even if you didn't want to hear it, right? He would hurt your feelings because he didn't give a shit. He said, I'd rather hurt your fucking feelings than go to your funeral, right? And he would tell me like it was. And he was the one who suggested, man, 90 meetings in 90 days. I want you going to 90 meetings in 90 days. I want you to call me for the first 30 days you walk out of this treatment center every single day. If you miss a day, start over, right? And I remember saying, well, I seen you at a meeting, so I didn't call you today. And he said, no, you're going to start over, right? Obviously, you don't know how to follow direction. Right? Start over. Start calling me 30 days from today, and we'll go again. And I said, that's kind of screwed up, John. I saw you in the meeting. He said, doesn't matter, man. So after that 30 days went by, he said, what did you learn from this? I said, I learned that I don't want to fucking stop calling you, I guess. And he said, no, man. In the 30 days that you've been calling me, number one, we've built a relationship, right? Number two, you've actually done something with yourself and lived up to a commitment, right? Probably the first commitment that you've ever done. Right? Call somebody for 30 days in a row, right? And he said, and you showed willingness, right? You showed willingness to do something different, right? And he walked me through a lot of stuff, man. You know, I can tell you that the only place I had left to go when I walked out of that treatment center was the dope house, because that's where I lived. And I went to that dope house, and I was there one day, and I remember thinking, this ain't gonna work, man. I'm never gonna make it in here, right? And I remember the guy in the dope house said, don't worry about it, man. I told everybody not to get you high, man, because you're in recovery now. And I said, shit, I'll just rob you guys. Like, if I want to get high, I'm gonna get high. You know what I mean? And this was another one of those God things, you know. I said, I got to get out of here, man. And I had no gas in my vehicle. My vehicle was wanted all over that whole town. You know, everybody was looking for me. The cops, every time they seen that vehicle, they pulled me over. They knew what I was doing. I've been doing it for 10 years. They'd seen me on the streets for the last 10 years with that same vehicle, you know. So I pulled down the street, and I was sitting in my vehicle, and I had, like I said, no gas. I had burnt every bridge. No family members that wanted me around anymore. The only people that wanted me around, and half the time they didn't want me around either, was dope people. Most of the dope people didn't want my ass around either, you know. And so I was sitting there just going, and that was that first prayer that I said, man, like, if there is this God or whoever he is, man, like fucking help me, man. I want to do, I like the way I'm feeling right now with 28 days without anything in my system. And just give me some kind of sign that I'm doing the right thing. And I don't think it was 2 or 3 seconds later, my phone rang. Right. And it was my sister, the one who set the boundaries with me and told me I wasn't allowed at my mother's and had the cops called on me, that said, listen, mom's not doing well and we need someone to go live at mom's house. And I heard you completed treatment, which is probably the first thing you've ever completed in your whole life. And we'd like you to go over and take care of mom if you could stay on the right track, and we'll support your recovery in any way we can. And I was graced with the ability to go back and take care of my mother on the last year of her life, you know. And I was, like I said, I was the kid who stole their credit card, stole their cash. Number one thing I stole was her peace of mind every single day.
Valuable time.
Yeah, her time, her peace of mind. She would tell me that I would stay up night after night wondering whether you were dead or alive and waiting for that collect call from the jail. And then to have a sigh of relief, like, thank God he's incarcerated. At least I know where he's at, you know. And I was grateful to be able to take care of her. You know, I could tell you, I got a couple of minutes left. I'll share a couple more things with you. What my life is like today, because I made the choice to get involved with the 12-step. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I only do Narcotics Anonymous. I don't talk bad about any other program. Whatever program helps you get clean, get sober, get right with yourself, get right with God, fucking do it. You know what I mean? Do whatever you have to do to stay on track, to continue doing the right thing and not be a toxic member of society, right? And whatever that takes to stop you from doing what you're doing, follow through with it. You know, like I said, I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I have a sponsor who does Narcotics Anonymous steps, who has a sponsor who does Narcotics Anonymous steps. We all do. Well, now we don't, but we're going to get back into it. We step study. We read the literature. I have every single one of the books. You know, like I said, I'm a little bit more fortunate than most addicts. Any of the books I have are usually commemorative models, leather bound, right? Because I have to have the best of everything. That's my new addiction, right? My new addiction is I have to have the best NA book. You know, whether it be the basic text, the Living Clean, I get the commemorative edition, right? Why, I don't know. You know, I still highlight the hell out of the pages, just like I did the regular ones I had. You know, my life is a freaking amazing miracle. You know, like I said, I was homeless for 10 years, whether I wanted to admit it or not. You know, today, I made a decision early in recovery to start volunteering at a treatment center. I was hired on at that treatment center. The fellowship of NA and the people in that treatment center pushed me and said, listen, man, you can go back to school, man. You should go back to school. You should be a counselor. And I was like, fucking counselor, dude. Like, shit, who's ever going to believe I'm a counselor, right? And, so I did, man, because I had people who were pushing me forward, man, saying that, like, you would make a good counselor. Like, people would believe, you inspired me to do something different. And I, to this day, still that for me, that's hard to realize, right? I still have that low self-esteem. I still have that little mentality like a kid. I still don't feel like I belong. I still don't feel that my story has anything. Who wants to hear about somebody who screwed up his life for 36 years? What kind of inspiration is that, right?
Come on, man.
Because of the people who continue to push. Yeah, the people who continue to push you forward, right? I ended up going back to school and getting a degree to be a counselor. I worked for a couple of local treatment centers. And then I got the opportunity to work for the county, and today what I get to do, man, is, I get to work with the homeless population, man. I get to work with the people just like me that need it. You know what I mean? That need the help. I could tell you this, man. I love what I do, man. I have a passion for what I do, and I love the work, man. And it's not an easy job, some days are a struggle, man. Because you want everybody to get this, man. You want everybody to get a life, get their life on track. I work in mental health as well, and that's a struggle too, man. Most people, anybody, I'll just tell you this is my opinion, right? If you're doing drugs, you got mental health problems, right? especially if you do drugs for 36 years. There's something not right with you, you know? And so today, you know, like I said, man, you know, I look around, man. I live in this big old huge house with nobody but me and my dog. You know, these things just keep falling into my lap, man. I just keep doing the next right thing, and God continues to bless me, man. Like, you know, like I said, I was homeless. I got to go stay with my mother. I got to take care of my mother for that year. My mother passed away. You know, I got to be part of the family decision on what are we going to do with the property and the stuff like that. And we made the decision to sell it. And then, you know, my sponsor passed away, and I got to be part of that process. And then, you know, I went back to school, and I got to live with my new sponsor, and my new sponsor helped me walk through the struggles of school and rebuilding relationships, because my sponsor that I had at that time had 5 children. He was a single father of 5 kids, and I was trying to learn how to rebuild my relationship with my children, right? Because that was an area I struggled, because my children were like, dude, you're never here. You were constantly, you know, their ringtone for me was a song from Akon called Locked Up, right? That was their ringtone. Whenever I called them, that song would play, you know? And so, you know, this guy taught me how to faithfully show up. When you tell your children you're going to be there at 1 o'clock, you don't show up at 1:30. You show up at 1 o'clock. When you tell them you're going to call them on the phone on Friday, you call them on Friday. You don't call them on Saturday, right? You continue to make that effort to be in their life, and eventually they come around, you know. And I have a great relationship with all of my kids right now, right? And I'm coming, like I said, I have 9 years, 7 months, and let's see, today's the 16th. 9 years, 7 months, and 15 days clean today. You know,
get them hearts up. Get them hearts up. Get them hearts up. Come on.
Yeah.
Congratulations, brother. You're a visionary.
Yeah, and you know, and my life, man, is nothing perfect, but you know what? It is definitely a freaking blessed life, right? Even on my bad days, man, I know today that, like, I'm living a dream that I couldn't even imagine from that prison cell in San Quentin when I was there. I couldn't imagine this shit. I can remember looking out over the bay, San Francisco Bay, and saying, fuck, man, what does it take to do something different? You know what I mean? What does it take to do something different? And I remember having a cellie that was a lifer that was doing life, and he told me, you want to do something different? Get yourself a God. Get yourself connected with God, right? And get away from those people you're hanging around with. Otherwise, you're going to continue to be here.
Power.
You know, and I remember him saying that because at that time, I didn't have a God. You know, I had a group of dope fiends that I hung around with. That was my God. And until I got connected with a real God, of my understanding, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, you know, my first sponsor, John, used to say God, Buddha, Allah, whatever, right? Just get that connection, you know? And because there's going to be those days where you don't feel like doing this program, you don't feel like talking to nobody, you don't feel like reaching out, and that's where God comes in, right? That's where that prayer comes in, right? Because I have plenty of those days, even with 9 years, a little over 9 years, I have plenty of those days where I want to throw in the towel and tell everybody to fuck off, right? Right. And I start praying. Help me get past this, right? And this is what my sponsor told me. Listen, it's only a moment in time, man. Pray about it. It'll pass. Don't turn that moment into a lifetime of misery, right? It's one moment. It'll pass, you know. I'll share this with you guys and I'll shut up. Yeah. You know, I always like to end it with something kind of funny. And I can tell you, I'll give you one of the experiences. One of the last time getting high, how bad it was for me. You know, I had been pulled over, like I said, 3 times in 1 month, got 3 felony possessions. My mother lived in this little kind of gated community. You know, I was headed to my mother's house to try to re-up on stealing some of my mother's stuff, either some of her money or something. I was so paranoid that, you know, I thought my clothes were tapped. I thought they were tracking me. I started peeling off my clothes in this gated community. You know, I ended up in my boxers with 1 sock on. And then I thought somebody was watching me, so I climbed the neighbor's tree at my mom's house. And I remember the neighbor coming out with a shotgun and saying, son, I don't know what the fuck's going on with you, but you better get out of my tree. And he said, what are you doing up there in your underwear, boy? And, you know, I can tell you this, man, drugs are bad, right? I was at 47. I got to recovery. I was 47 years old. I was 47 years old in my mother's tree with one sock on and my boxers, right?
Wow.
And I thought I had this shit figured out, right? And what I can tell you guys today, man, I'm really grateful for this whole Zoom platform, these, this online type of stuff. I'm grateful that I got an opportunity to meet you, Carl. I love you, brother, man. Like, this is amazing stuff.
Yeah, man.
We sit in that. We sit in that.
Go ahead.
We sit in that evening meeting. We sit in that evening meeting every night, and we've been meeting some people, man.
Wow.
Some real people from all over the world, and that's what this is all about, man. Like, I didn't have a problem to have 20 different dope dealers in my phone, right? When somebody told me, hey, I don't have none, shit, I had 10 other people I could call, right? And we got to use that same principle to save our life, right? Have some people in your support team, man. Get on these Zoom meetings. Get on whatever it takes to stay connected, right? Because a lot of people in our area are not too hip with this, not really digging this platform. But this is what I know, man. I went to any length to get loaded, right? And I'll go to any length to stay clean. So thanks for letting me share on your thing there, buddy.
Yeah. What I want to ask you, we're going to open the floor up. If anybody got any questions for me and Daniel, we'll feel free to answer them, shoot the questions through. And I want to thank you, brother, from the bottom of my heart to my toes, to my feet, to my soul, to every inch of hair on my body, man. I truly love you, man. You're a vision of hope, man. And be prepared, because you're going to get a topic when all this stuff opens up, and I'm going to get you out the my way, man. And I mean, like, I'm going to clear this up. This is not a Narcotics Anonymous platform at all. So this is just a vision that God gave me, right? Because predecessors used to judge me, and they still do, and they continue to do. I got a lot of shit and a slack for a lot of people around here. And I believe this is the time where we're quarantined, right? Where a lot of people that judge me, brother, God opened their heart up to watch this. And my man called me. He was driving down the street. He said, one of my sponsee brothers, he said, I got something to tell you. God had tapped him on his shoulder and said, watch all the people that talked about you. They're going to be watching you, because this quarantine, it's God, man, unifying us in the world. Whatever resentment you have, smash that, man, because we need each other to love on each other. So the floor is open. If you want to shoot the questions, get the questions going, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability, and we'll experience, man. That's what I live off of today. I don't live off of opinions. So start shooting the questions. And yeah, man, I really truly appreciate you, man, from the bottom of my heart, man. You rocked a lot of people's world on here, man. You touched a lot of people, man. We had a lot of people on tonight. It ain't about the likes, the views with me, but the more shares it gets, the more people it reaches. I do believe that. And it's called algorithm. It's what it's called. You like my shit, they like yours. It shows up on your timeline. I haven't got this mastered. Probably will never master it. I'm not running on self-will today. I'm letting God take over. All right, here we go. I just do this from the bottom of my heart, man. And that's how I do this. Anybody got some questions?
I'm grateful, Carl. Thank you. Thank you for what you do, Carl.
People, anybody got any questions for us? Send them through. See, a lot of people don't not seen a negative comment, but I'm a pray for you. Yo, the guy in the black hat on the left, stop overacting. But listen, I share with passion and enthusiasm. That's all. And that's how I share, man. So what share from the heart touches the heart. So,
If somebody says, how do you get past the boredom you come across in early recovery?
Yeah, go ahead. You got something?
So I know things are different today, right? In early recovery for me, I had no life, right? So I went to meetings on a regular basis to get myself connected. And what I found was, I got connected with going to conventions. We do, like I said, I'm a big fan of music, and concerts are a big thing for me. In our area, there's a place called Santa Cruz, and my first sponsor had taught me how to have fun in recovery and not get loaded. And we used to go to these. They have a bonfire meeting on the beach in Santa Cruz, and then they have live concerts later in the evening. And so we would go to the bonfire meeting, carloads of people. He would go around and pick all these people up, and we'd get a bunch of carloads of people, and we'd go like a caravan out here, and we'd go down there and we'd go put some recovery in there first, right? We'd go to this bonfire meeting, and then the next thing we know, we would go to this concert, and then the next thing you know, we're at a restaurant fellowshipping, right? That was how we got past the boredom early on. Today is a different story, man. We're on this quarantine. My suggestion is, I've been watching what's going on with the Zoom when I can. I'm working from home now, so during the daytime hours I'm working. But I see a lot of newcomers on these platforms, and in reality, man, I think it's a cool thing because you don't even necessarily even have to show your face or say anything, right? But you can get yourself in there connected and use the live chat and sit there and get yourself a support system and start working the program that way until all this stuff blows past. Boredom's a tough thing.
You see that from Pakistan? Wow.
Yeah.
Where I can identify with when I first got into recovery, I've been in since 05. And it took me like 17, 18 years, man, to actually put my pride and my ego. And when I get bored, I try to find some like gratitude, right? Gratitude is an action word, but I try to be grateful because there's people that don't got nowhere to live, man, that's out there in active addiction. And when I start feeling ungrateful, right? Because I was ungrateful my whole life, I picked the telephone up and I reach out to somebody. I say, man, I don't know how to live, man. Can you guide me? Can you give me some direction? And when I started taking direction, right, my life had become manageable. It had not become unmanageable no more, right? Because I started to do some things different. I started to share that surface stuff onto, to the floor. That stuff that was serving, I started getting vulnerable and transparent, and I started opening up to people when people could identify the trauma, the pain. Well, I know you can identify with that, right, Daniel?
Yeah,
and
right.
That's what started for me. Why I got clean. Somebody asked me that. Why I got clean? Because I was sick and tired of doing the same things and getting no results out of what I was doing. I was seeking validation from a substance that never loved me. It turned me into the devil, man. And my attitudes and my action and behaviors today presents who the man I am today. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not a role model for the recovering addict. I fall short in areas. Sometimes I hold the phone up and pay no attention to my girl. But recovery starts at home. So I'll find a balance. And if I don't, I'll pick the phone up and I'll dial and say, yo, I'm struggling, man. That was the biggest thing for me, Daniel, was asking another man to sponsor me because I was molested, brother. And that's the truth, man. I told all my people, man, when I was molested, I had that wall up and I didn't want you to let none of my secrets know. But I know secrets will keep us sick. And man, any more questions?
You got to let that pride and ego go, man. Right? You're here to save your life. You're not here for a beauty contest.
Yeah. And anybody,
it's a life or death deal.
Tell them we'll shoot some Zoom meetings to them too.
I just sent him a friend request. You're welcome to add me as a friend, and I'll hook you up in any way I possibly can. I'm connected to my like I said, my 12-step fellowship all over the world: Germany, Africa, Afghanistan, everywhere. I was taught to get connected early.
All right, here we go. Questions. Yeah, man. I was told to stay in the middle. I don't fall at the edges. So somebody said, how does your grandma feel? My grandma told me, that's what she told me. She said that I believe God gave you this platform to save lives.
Amen, brother.
That was crazy, man. I remember, I still deal with some trauma from my grandmother for hurting her, and probably would have stressed her into a heart attack for lying to her all the time, begging her and asking her for the next one. And Now, man, I don't have to live like that. She is seeing her grandson change and transform into a man today. So I go to meetings to let the broken little boy come out and play with the other broken little boys, man, and become and transform into human beings and successful people and men in society. This is a platform for men and women. So if anybody's struggling, I don't work for a treatment center. Like I told y'all, I don't do this for treatment center reasons. I have placed a lot of people in treatment. I started this on my page, right, on my profile, I told you. And I said, I just got a vision, man. So one of the advocates set this up. Any questions? Yeah. Tim, thank you for all you do, Tim. I love you, man. I agree. But 10 years of active addiction, still trying to get clean past 8 years.
Change the people you're hanging with. It says he can't stay clean and he's having problems. And his main problem is he doesn't know anybody that's sober. You got to change everything, and that starts with the people that you hang with.
Some people send him requests right now, please. He's from Pakistan. Yeah. So what we can do, brother, we can send you a meeting on Zoom. Yep. I'm sure they got him.
Yeah. All day, every day now. Conventions and everything going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is. It is. Matter of fact.
Yeah.
How do you help someone? You got that?
How do you help keep someone clean after you get them clean? I don't know. How do you help keep someone clean after you get them clean? I don't know. The only person I can keep clean is myself. Everybody else's journey is theirs, right? I kind of like Carl said, man. I don't go around to the dope house and try to bring people to treatment. When they're ready to change, they'll change, man. And I definitely don't hang around people that are getting loaded. And if they are, I set boundaries with them. I like I said, we're not here to rescue people and take them into treatment. I'm here to help save people's lives, man. And if someone gets clean and you get clean and they don't stay clean, that's their journey. All you can do is be that positive beacon of light at the end of the tunnel for them. You know what I mean? Just continue doing what you're doing and show them that this stuff works. Like I said, I don't preach one fellowship or the other fellowship. Whatever works for you. I have plenty of friends who do other things, have gotten off of dope. It doesn't have to be a 12-step fellowship. It can be anything and everything, as long as it stops you from doing what you're doing. Man.
Seriously.
Yeah. God, G-O-D is all you need.
All right. Thank you so very much, Carl. And all those messages with concern. It just brought me to tears, happiness in my eyes, knowing people actually care. People love you, brother.
Love you, man.
It's a judgment-free zone, brother. What they told me, take the cotton out of my ears, shove it down my throat. Listen. There's people here to love you. There's going to be people probably reaching out to you. You will probably get overwhelmed. I appreciate you, Daniel, so much, man.
I love you, brother.
Love you too, man. We're going to go ahead and shut it down, man. You have a blessed night.
All right, man. I'll see you tonight on the other meeting.
My man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, brother, for asking me.
Thank you, man.
And God bless all you guys. Good luck. I love you guys.
Thank you,
everybody on this platform.
Yep. Have a blessed night. Man, what a show. What a show. Man, that was so powerful. And I'm going to pray us out, and I'm going to let God take over. Almighty God, for the people that's out there struggling in life, Lord God, just let them find a new way of life to surrender to something, to surrender to you, Lord God, and just meet people where they're at, love people, to express unconditional love, and be with the people struggling with the coronavirus all over the world and this pandemic. Let this society just open back up to normal in a couple of weeks, Lord God. Amen. I love y'all so much. Inspirational freestyle recovery.